So President Trump is deeply unpopular with the American people. That is unless you ask Republicans. There's a Gallup poll conducted between April 2nd and the 8th, which has Donald Trump at an 89% approval rating, job approval rating among Republican voters. They think that he is doing a tremendous job, that he's doing a fantastic job, and they love him for it. Now, that point of view differs between voters and Republican politicians, Republican congressmen. They view him a little bit differently. In fact, recently, a Republican congressman has expressed his true feelings about President Trump to fellow conservative Eric Erickson. Now, of course, he declined to give his name because he says, look, if I say this thing out loud, I'm going to get run out of town if I use my name. But if you agree not to publish my name, you can quote me. You can put me on the record. Now, this lawmaker, as I said, who is identified but is going on the record, said, quote, damn it, he's taking us all down with him. We are all well and truly fucked in November. If that's not clear enough, let's continue. Of course, he talks about Paul Ryan here. Kevin McCarthy is already circling like a green fly circling shit, trying to take Paul Ryan's job. Because nobody thinks he's sticking around for Nancy Pelosi. She's going to fuck up the cafeteria again, too. Now, look, I don't know what the cafeteria bit is about. But, hey, man, if she, leaves stuff in the sink, that's shitty. Pelosi, clean up your mess. Well, hopefully, of course, Pelosi will no longer be there. But nonetheless, okay. Now, he continues on that line of thought. Goddamn, at least I'll probably lose, too, and won't have to put up with that shit. Wow. Nice. Now, this quote was, of course, on the day that Paul Ryan announced that he was no longer running. So he's like, that pile of shit that was the job of the speaker, you can have it. I'm out of here. Kevin McCarthy, if you want this pile of shit, you can have it. I'm out of here. There's the door. I'm going through it. Screw you guys. I'm going home. All right. Now, look, it's beginning to look like this blue wave is going to crash right on top of their heads. And it's awesome. Now, let me give you an example of that, right? So I've got some numbers to back down or to back up the blue wave. There's a poll out recently where Trump is now losing white college-educated Republicans. Oh, that's interesting. Now, these people are typically faithful Republican voters. However, they've indicated via polling that they intend now to vote for Democrats, or more of them intend to vote for Democrats. Now, white people over 60 with college degrees now favor Democrats over Republicans for congressional seats by a 2-point margin, according to polling data released Monday by Reuters and Ipsos. While the lead is slim, it is 12 points removed from the same time period in 2016, when there was a 10-point lead for the Republicans. So understand, that is a 12-point shift away from the Republican Party. 10-point shift in the polls. That is insane. Not only that, but there's another poll out that's also incredibly relevant. This is from the Harvard Institute of Politics Spring 2018 Youth Poll. So basically, it found that younger people are going to vote in bigger numbers than we have seen before. It found that 51% of Democrats between the ages of 18 to 29 said that they will definitely vote in the election, compared to just 36% of Republicans in the same age, according to Axios. So, look, that is much higher than usual. Younger people vastly outnumber Republicans. Younger progressives, liberals, people who generally vote Democratic have a huge numbers advantage. But unfortunately, they're not the most reliable voters. And I hate saying that because why are we not the most reliable voters? Come on, get involved, get involved. That's what we're trying to do here. Midterms matter, et cetera, so that we don't have to worry about white college-educated Republicans turning the election, turning the tide. No, younger people, get out there and vote. Okay. become more reliable. And look, this is a great time to get involved because there are so many progressives in primaries. So there's your shot. If you want progressives, progressives are running. And progressives need your help. So you get involved in the midterms. And then, you get involved in the primaries first. Then you get into the midterms and you crush these Republicans. And it's not going to happen unless you show up to vote. So that's very, very important. Now, if the trends that we're seeing via polling hold up, and they look, we got to be very cautious about this because there's a chance that it might not hold up. And there's a chance that people could get overconfident and decide, you know what, we're going to win anyway. I'm going to stay home. No, get involved, stay involved, knock on doors, et cetera, right? Continue to stay involved the best that you can. But if all this holds true, November is going to be a slaughter, at least when it comes to the House. Because there's a lot of House seats that are incredibly vulnerable. The Senate, not so much, because most of the seats are going to actually be Democrats defending their seats. So, but the House, there's a chance that Democrats could definitely take the House if this holds. Now, what does that mean for the Republicans? It means that Donald Trump is taking the Republicans down. Look, all we have to do is just look at all the people that have decided to quit. All these congressional Republicans are like, all right, that's it, I'm done. Now, there's another reason for that, too. They got the Trump tax cuts passed. They basically enshrined these tax cuts into law. So their mission accomplished, man. Hey, we passed giant tax cuts for the rich. That means Democrats are fucked. Because now they're going to have to run on raising taxes or giant deficits. That's what Republicans do, man. They get into office, and what they do is they say, no, we can have it both ways. We can lower taxes, and we can increase spending. Now, what do they increase spending on? Military and corporations. They're giving out gifts, but they're giving out gifts to their corporate donors, while also slashing taxes, which is, I guess, a sort of a winning strategy when people are uninformed, when they think, oh, no, tax cuts, they will grow the economy, we'll have more jobs, and somehow that'll eliminate the debt. No, it won't. That is a lie. And they've sold that lie for decades. And Democrats have not been able to fight really against it because guess what? That makes them tack to the center. That makes them pull a Bill Clinton. It makes them go, oh, no, we have to cut entitlements now. It's so-called entitlements. We have to cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security so we can go and pay off this debt. We got to pay down the debt that the Republicans ran up. It's a perfect scam. It is an absolute perfect scam. But anyway, to get back to the story, you're going to love the next quote. He said, quote, "It's like Forrest Gump won the presidency." I'm talking about Trump. But an evil, really fucking stupid Forrest Gump. He can't help himself. Oh, I love that. I love that. Quote, "He's just a fucking idiot who thinks he's winning when people are bitching about him. He really does see the world as ratings and attention. I hate Forrest Gump." Damn, dude. Again, this is a conservative. This is a congressional Republican. Love it. Now, that same Republican, he's going to weigh in on the Mueller investigation. And you're going to love his response on that. He said the House Judiciary Committee just might pull the trigger if the president fires Robert Mueller. The shit will hit the fan, and if that happens, I'd vote to impeach him myself. Damn. And he says most of us would. I think, hell, all the Democrats would, and you only need a majority in the House. He says if we're going to lose because of him, we might as well impeach the motherfucker, take him out with us, and let Mike Pence take over. At least then, we could sleep well at night. Well, I'm sure the LGBT community and women would not sleep well at night with Mike Pence at the helm. because, again, he is not only dangerous, but he's also competent. So that would be a big problem for us. Nonetheless, you could say, and some have, that was the whole plan all along. Get Donald Trump to basically sign whatever you put in front of him. For example, giant tax cuts that are going to add $1.9 trillion to the deficit, according to the most recent CBO score, which, of course, look, it's not going to do any good for our economy. Because Republicans, they're going to use that. They're going to use that to say, oh, look at that. We need to cut food stamps. We need to cut Social Security. We need to cut all these programs for regular people. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We've got a big debt. We got all this debt. And we've got to pay it down. Got to pay it down. And, of course, they'll probably get the Democrats to do it, to join along with them. Scam. But anyway. Now, look, Trump, the situation, the circumstances that created a Trump presidency are actually, I think, hard to replicate when you think about it. I mean, look, you had neoliberal policies that helped create the disastrous economic situation that we have, free trade, for example. Yes, those are huge contributing factors. You also had fake news. You had faux populism, which Donald Trump ran on. And very importantly, you had lack of a decent alternative in the Democrats. And people looked at Hillary Clinton and were like, nope. Look, hey, 3 million people more did vote for Hillary Clinton. Fair enough. But that wasn't the voters that she needed. She needed the voters in swing states. She needed the voters in the Rust Belt. And she did not deliver. So, thanks to the rules of the Electoral College, she lost. She lost to an orange clown. That can't be replicated. That stew cannot be replicated. So, I think 2020 is going to be a little bit harder. But it also might be harder for other challengers as well. I mean, it might be a little bit more difficult for example, somebody like Bernie Sanders to win. Then again, I don't think so, personally. But I don't know. 2020, still a little while away. We'll see what happens in the midterms. We'll see what happens when the progressives challenge the Republicans. I think they're going to win. So, but nonetheless, look, Trump is not, even though the situations that put him into office are sort of unique, Trump himself is not all that unique when it comes to the way that he's governed, right? The way that he's governed is basically he has hastened deregulation. He's done tax cuts. He's done everything that a regular Republican would do, policy-wise. The thing that sets him apart is just his demeanor while doing it. He's loud, abrasive, obnoxious, gets into Twitter spats and fights and all that stuff. So he draws undue attention to himself while doing the same kind of policies that the Republicans have always been pushing for, except for things on trade, which, by the way, latest news today, President Trump is thinking about jumping back into the TPP. Oops. So it all depends on who's around him. And he's got generals, war hawks. That explains what's going on with Syria. And he also has people who are pro-free trade. Larry Kudlow, for example. He's going to follow exactly what they're doing because he has no ideology of his own. But he is a typical Fox News audience. And he took over the Republican Party where the GOP base is most likely like him. Not very educated, not very savvy, very angry, and of course, glued to Fox News all the time. Remember, Donald Trump, as I said before, he is the Fox News audience. He is the base. And that base was cultivated in part by Fox News, InfoWars, and other far-right conservative media. It's also cultivated by a right wing, an ultra right wing that no longer accepts facts, that no longer buys into what is considered facts, factual information. They don't believe it anymore. They don't trust it. No, it's fake news. It's fake news because it doesn't fit my narrative. It doesn't fit what I believe it should be. Well, when you have a segment of the population that won't believe in facts, well, then obviously there's going to be some problems there. Okay, so look, he is a typical Fox News viewer, only rich. Now, look, speaking of conservative media, for example, we go back to some final quotes. I say a lot of shit on TV defending him, even over this, he tells Erickson. Now, look, that's a terrible job, but I don't feel sorry for him because he kind of asked for it. Publicly, these Republicans have all lined up behind him. Now, privately, of course, they're like, oh, we should get rid of this guy. And we've been hearing whispers about that before. Okay, right. Yeah, you want to get rid of him, but you won't stand up to him. Of course, there's reasons for that because 89% of Republican voters are pro-Trump. They think he's doing a fantastic job. However, if he causes a gigantic loss in the midterms, well, then you're going to have Republicans basically turn the cannons inward. They're going to go to a circular firing squad, which normally happens only with Democrats. But if it happens with the Republicans, it's going to get very, very interesting. Now, finally, he says, quote, honestly, I wish the motherfucker would just go away. We're going to lose the House, lose the Senate, and lose a bunch of states because of him. All his supporters will blame us for what we have or have not done, but he hasn't led. So that sort of points out the difficulty in going against Donald Trump. You can't call him out because his supporters absolutely love him, and they have this cult mentality now. Like, no, Donald Trump, he's MAGA. He's MAGA. Everything he does is great. So if he can't do something, well, then it's because of the Republicans in Congress, the goddamn rhinos. They're not conservative enough. They're not doing what we want them to do, blah, blah, blah. It's not Trump's fault. It's their fault. And now, look, you have some Republicans as well, the evangelical voters, which, by the way, are a large part of why he won as well, a large part of why he was carried to victory. And these people literally believe that Donald Trump was put here by God. Well, God can't be wrong. We can't question God. So, look, we got to support Donald Trump. He was anointed. He was put here by God. So that makes it very, very hard for Republicans to speak out. And some have, of course, the ones that have spoken out, Bob Corker and Jeff Flake, guess why they're able to speak out? It's because they don't need to run anymore. They don't need to shill for these, maybe shill's the wrong word, but they don't need to appeal to these Trump-loving voters, this base. They can look at that 89% of Republicans that approve of his job and go, you know what, I don't care. I'm not running again. I don't need to beg for money. I don't need to beg for your votes. Now I can say it the way it is. So now I can call out Trump for being a complete douchebag. Now, you can point out, and this is a very fair criticism of both Jeff Flake and Bob Corker and other Republicans that have spoke out against Trump. They still vote for Trump policies because Trump does whatever the Republicans want him to do. He is stupid enough to sign whatever bill they put in front of him. And that's exactly what they wanted. And that is another reason that now, since he's causing so many problems, so many scandals, a lot of these Republicans behind the scenes are saying, if he gets impeached, we'll vote. We'll vote to impeach him. We'll get him out of there. We'll replace him with Mike Pence. So that, look, all the bad stuff that happened, that are our ideas, cutting taxes, regulation, we can just blame it on Donald Trump and we can have our own guy in there. And it'll be tremendous. And of course, he aligns with us on every single issue. That could be the plan. But finally, one more criticism on Trump. Quote, he wakes up in the morning, shits all over Twitter, shits all over us, shits all over his staff, then hits golf balls. Fuck him. All right. Hey, that is fairly clear. That's a Republican talking about Trump. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.